Hello everyone, this is Will from Apple 121 Trading. Today we are going to talk about the podcast app on iOS 26 and just go through some of the features that are on here, especially with iOS 26 that were added on here that I think make the podcast experience so much better. Please like and subscribe for all of our content that we do on this channel. We're going to go through right now of all the different things that are going on. And don't mind my voice, I'm still getting over a sickness. So if you watch this video in the future, not feeling that great. We're going to talk about first off on the bottom. We're going to work our way on the bottom here of all the different areas that we work on. So first off is home. These are basically things that you are subscribed to already and that they're coming up in the next field. So you can see right here they have the up next section, which is on your main page, which are all things that you just haven't watched yet. And they're basically all stored right up here. And they just go in order and you just pick the one episode that you want to look at. You have your top shows. These are the top probably podcasts that you listen to on a daily basis. So you can see I'm into wrestling, technology podcasts, stuff like that. And then if you open it up, you can just go through every one of your top shows that you listen to on a daily basis. What you might like. So now they're advertising things that you, based on your listening, what you would like to be interested in. You go through this and then you would just pick on the show that you want to listen to. So because I'm into wrestling, they have a lot of wrestling podcasts, technology podcasts. They have the like 90s podcasts, things like that. Popular shows down here. And then from Apple Music, if you want to get some subscriptions and then games. So they have a bunch of stuff on the main page here. But mostly I stick to the up next and top shows section pretty much. Let's hit the home button. And now we're back to the beginning. Let's go to new. So new is just basically what it sounds like. The top podcasts you would listen to on here, top series, top episodes, things like that are all here on this one spot right here. Library is a lot where you're going to spend a lot of your time. This just breaks down things based on your latest episodes, your channels, categories, saved items in here. We'll talk about how to do that. Downloaded items. And then you create these smart playlists. So if you want to create like some smart ones of episodes that you like, you can create smart ones. If you go up here to the three dots in the library, you can go ahead and edit your library around. So you can uncheck things that you don't want. So if you don't care about the category, you can just uncheck the category section. And then also you could take your smart playlist that you created and you could just do like wrestling. I don't care about it. I'm just going to delete it. You can also change the order of how you want things to be in order. And then you just hit the check mark to complete that. Sometimes I feel like less up here would be better because then you get to the more bottom stuff down here. Then you have recently updated. So ones that were recently done all have the new on it. 6 hours ago, 19 hours ago. So you can look at what episodes you like a lot and they put them at the top of the list of the most recently updated. So let's take a look at a podcast. So I like Bad Movies Rule. It's one of my favorite ones to listen to. And they have basically a description, the latest episode, and then all the episodes are right here. You could just play the episode, or you can go here to the dot, and you have a couple of options. I'm not going to go over every option, but you can save it. That's where that little save button went to. So if I click on saved, it's not going to save that episode, and it's going to download it also to my machine. And then down the line, if I go back to the save section, that episode will be there so I could just watch it. There are episodes that you would watch like very later. So when I watch a lot of like movie stuff, because it's not very timely, you can go back and just kind of watch these later on. Going back to a podcast, you will see two options up here. One, and in this case, it's downloading but paused. So what they've done is that because I haven't listened to it, they're not automatically downloading it, but you could turn on automatic downloads or you can unfollow the show. So because I wasn't listening to episodes on a frequent basis, it's not continually downloading, but I could turn it on right now. And then in the dots, I can go up here and I could say, do a play next, and then you have something here called settings. Each setting is for each podcast. So you could turn off notifications if you want. You could do the episode order from oldest to newest. You could do episode display. And right now I don't do that because it takes up some room, but you can turn on to hide fully played episodes. So if you don't want to see episodes that you've already listened to, you can go here and turn that on. And then that way they don't show up in the list anymore. Downloads, you have a choice of how often it downloads these podcasts. So you can say, well, keep the latest 5 and 24 hours, 7 days. You have a whole bunch of options on here that you could turn on. Now, I typically like 5 days. So that way they're downloaded physically to my machine. So I don't have to worry about relying on the internet. Remove played episodes on. I do like that. I don't usually listen to them. Speed and auto adjustments. So you could do speed settings, and every show is different. Now, typically, I like to listen to shows at 1.5 speed, but every show could be different. Sometimes the shows are a little faster. So you can actually customize it for the show. And I could say, well, I want to have it at 1.3 for this, and then you could turn on enhanced dialogue, which will then get rid of some of the background noise. So you can turn that on, and then that gets rid of all that. So there's a lot of setting for every single podcast. This is a setting you would do for every one of them. So you have to go through a lot of them. It takes a lot of setting up to do, but it definitely could be worth it in the end of the day, just getting your one item set up. And now I'm all set, ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an episode in here, and I'm going to go into the one I'm listening to now, which was 83 Weeks by Eric Bischoff. I'm a wrestling podcast one. Now, what I did on the bottom is I have a feature here where you could turn the lyrics, or really more so speech, on and off. And a new feature that they introduced into iOS 26, which I absolutely love, is this feature right here. They actually automatically create chapters based on the speech inside of the episode. Is it allows us to skip through the video, and it's created all these great features of chapter markers. I absolutely love this, especially if there's like ads or they're talking about something that you don't care about. Sometimes in episodes, I just don't care about listening to some portions of it, and I could skip through and automatically just go to the next thing, which I absolutely love. So this is a great feature. Also, I have this lyrics on the screen. So if I'm looking for something particular, I can search for it. So if they're talking about, I'm going to use my favorite wrestler, Hulk Hogan. I'm going to go through, and then he's mentioned 27 times, and I can arrow through if I'm looking for something particular in this episode. And that's how you are able to go through the episode and actually decide where you want to listen to it. So as you're talking, you can hear the episode going, and it's the lyrics that are on the screen.
So what I told Eric and Hulk at the time was the truth.
So I'm going to pause that. Let's get back to where we just were. On the bottom right corner, they have like different episodes down here. You have your speed controls right here. You can also turn on the enhanced dialogue. So if you want to get rid of the background noise, if they have some, you could do that. You could rewind 15, 30 seconds, which, by the way, I believe you can change this now. Let's go into settings, podcasts. And there's something here called skip buttons, and then they have forward 30 and back 15. So you can actually control this. I believe this is a new iOS 26 feature that they introduced where you can now decide how fast you go forward, how fast you go backwards as a default button. So I love that, but I think 30, 15 usually works for me. Let's go back to the podcast app. All right, so we're back into a podcast in here, and then we have, of course, Do Not Disturb right here. If you wanted to turn it off, like you could say after 15 minutes, I would want you to stop it or put something like the snooze. This is good if like you're sleeping. And then you have up here is a whole bunch of information about the episode. You can share it, you can save it, you can mark it as played, but that's just the controls of using the actual podcast in here. And on the bottom right corner is a search. So now we are in the search section of here. You can look up certain things in here. So they have wrestling, they have music interviews, sports interviews. So if you go to sports, you can now see a whole bunch of sports ones. And Pardon My Take is the number one thing that's live right now in there. And then if you wanted to subscribe to it, all you got to do is go to Pardon My Take, and then you would hit the plus sign on the top. And now it's going to add that. And now we have it here as our in our list. So if I go back to the beginning, and if I look into let's go to library, let's go to shows, and then here are the shows in here. Now, there's something you don't want anymore. Now, a lot of times what happens with podcasts, and this happens a lot lately, where podcasts just don't get updated anymore. Like a lot of times your favorite podcasters may not be around anymore. So you may not want to care or listen to anymore. So I'm going to do that right now with one of these. So there's an episode I just don't listen to anymore. I'm going to remove it. So if I go here to this one right here, I have it checked off, but you can see they haven't done an episode in almost a year and a half. I'm just going to uncheck it, and then that unfollows the episodes, and you can also turn off automatic downloads as well. So maybe you don't want to unfollow it, but you don't want to keep getting episodes from them. But I'm going to unfollow the episode, and now that removes them from this list. And you can do that and keep going through on here. So there's, again, something you just don't listen to, or maybe you don't want to get downloaded episodes. So if I watch something, but I don't want to get automatic episodes, I can go to the check mark, turn off automatic downloads, and now all the episodes are gone from this list, and then they'll have to re-download. You can see my Apple one-to-one training is a perfect example of that, because unfortunately we haven't done much of podcasting anymore because it didn't sound like a lot of people were interested in it. However, we do have all these episodes on YouTube if you want to watch it, but you can also go back and see where we thought about, well, at least it's been a year since we've updated it, but you can go take a look and see some of our old episodes, some of our old thoughts. Now, what if there is a podcast that you like, but you can't find it or you can't show it? Well, I'm going to go over something that's pretty unique. Now, Joe Rogan is a terrible example, but what you could do is if you have a way to grab the RSS feed and you want to put it into your podcast, you can. So RSS feed is the most important thing you have to grab. A lot of times, like especially on Patreon has a lot of RSS feeds from them because you have like these paid for items. You can actually grab the feed and put it into the podcast app. So if I go to RSS feed, I'm just going to click it, and what it did is it copied this RSS feed. What I'm going to now do is go back to podcasts. Up at the dots over here, there is an option called follow a show by URL. I can click up here and then paste the URL. You have to make sure it says XML at the end of it. That is what adds it. And I hit follow. It's now going to add that here. So if there's like a private one that you have that you can't publicly find, you can put it in here. And then as you can see, the Joe Rogan podcast is now part of my feed. This is a very unique feature a lot of people don't know about. Also, because I'm in the library section of my shows, I can go to edit shows right here, and then I can also just remove ones I don't want. So that way I could do more than one at a time if I have to. So I'll get rid of part of my take, unfollow and remove, and then I'll go to this one right here, and I'll remove this one. This is actually a podcast one that I don't listen to anymore on here. So there's a lot of ways to get rid of and unfollow things, and I'm going to check it back off, and we're done. Now we're going to talk about how we get these little icons right here. This is where we create smart playlists. They don't call it that. They call it stations, but that's what it is. That icon always represents that. So let's go to the icon right here of the dots. Go to new station. We're going to call it wrestling. And this is where I'm going to combine a whole bunch of stations together into one area. Let's save that. So now it's telling me play. Okay, so what do I want to do? Newest to oldest, oldest to newest. So we'll do newest to oldest. Group by show. Sure, we'll do that. Episodes, most recent, so we'll do most 2 recent episodes. Media type, because now they do video podcasts, that is an option now, but I'm going to do audio. And then I get to choose all of my podcasts. So include all podcasts, which is like nuts, but we're not going to do that. As you can see, I checked them all off. Actually, that's a bad idea. Let's go back to... Don't ever do that, by the way. I can't undo it now, so now I have to manually uncheck these, which is a little annoying. But it's okay. So we'll do all the wrestling ones. So I'm going to uncheck only ones that I want to do here that are wrestling related. And we'll skip forward. Okay, so I went through my list and I checked off the ones that I want. And now all these are on here. And then if I click on each individual one, you can see I can actually, certain episodes or certain shows, I can actually choose default recent 2, or I could just do the most recent episode or all of them. And that's it. And then I just close the station out. And now, if I just go back under wrestling, these are just the wrestling ones on here. So this is a good way to just organize all your podcasts if you want to do like technology, wrestling, whatever way you want to do it, 90 shows. You could really go through this and really make an organized list in here for your stations. And this will create like a favorite station for you. So that's really the basics I wanted to talk about. In here also, one thing I talked about is channels. I want them to get rid of this. This is annoying. I really don't like this on here. They're just channels of like people I subscribe to, and they're just showing you like other like versions that they have under like SiriusXM or iHeartRadio or Apple Music, things like that. So I kind of don't like that section on here. But I hope this gave you an idea. On here you have your downloaded section, which is great for like plane rides if you want to know what you physically have on there. That's really the basics of this app. I hope this gave you an idea of how to use the podcast app. I love podcasts. I think they're great. I love learning about things. And I hope you guys take a look at this, enjoy the content of it, and, even subscribe to ours. Even though we don't have episodes anymore, we have some good stuff on there we talked about. But thank you very much, everybody. And I love every single one of you.